Pamela Portnoy.
I'm Alexa Marie Anderson.
And no one's okay. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Why did I say that so creepily?
I did too.
Hello.
It felt right, I guess, is what I...
It's nice to see you.
I don't know if I should be turned on or like running for my life. I feel like it's an accurate description for both of us.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that one.
I feel like that is a great description of... Oh, God. Okay. What? We watched some more movies.
Movie night. What else is there to do?
Movie night. Trying to keep ourselves sane.
Movie night.
Okay.
What do we watch? Okay, so each week, in case you haven't been keeping up, we'll each recommend a movie to each other. And Alexa recommended Thelma and Louise, which I, for some reason, have not seen yet.
Which is like a classic. I said
very classic.
That was a weird voice. Classic.
All the way back to 91.
Yes, 91.
Alexa was not even a twinkle in her parents' eye.
I wasn't. That's so right.
So it must feel old to you, but I was like already born.
This is true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My mom actually is the reason why I watched this movie in the first place.
Really? Your mom likes this movie?
My mom loves this movie. She's like, you haven't seen this? We have to watch it. I remember being younger, and she was like, we have to watch this movie. It's also amazing. 2 female leads in 91. Hell yeah.
Totally. I was actually looking it up. Well, let's introduce the movie.
Okay, yes. Thelma and Louise.
And then we'll get into it.
Let's do like a brief overview, and then we'll talk about it. The synopsis, according to IMDb, it is about 2 best friends set out on an adventure, but it soon turns around to a terrifying escape from being hunted by the police as these 2 girls escape for the crimes they committed. The director is Ridley Scott. The cast is Susan Sarandon as Louise, Geena Davis as Thelma, Harvey Keitel as Hal, Michael Madsen as Jimmy, Christopher McDonald as Daryl, Stephen Tobolowsky as Max, Brad Pitt as JD, Timothy Carhart as Harland, Lucinda Jenny as Lena the waitress, and Jason Beggy as the state trooper.
You did it.
I did it.
You guys won't hear her first try, but that was her second try.
So good with names, guys. It's my special skill. I'm so good at pronouncing names. It's great. Yes. Great.
Good choice. I really enjoyed it.
Yay.
It was a fun movie night. I watched it last night. I never do this. I don't know why. And I always catch myself off guard when I'm like invited over for a movie night at like a friend's house or something like that. And they'll usually shut off the lights because apparently that's like what normal people do. To like watch movies. I very rarely do that.
I feel like it's not in the forefront of my brain. No. I feel like that's not in the forefront of my brain either, to be honest with you. I feel like there are many times where I've been with friends and they're like, are you going to turn the lights off? And I'm like, all right, guess so.
It really does make the experience way better. And it makes sense because that's what movie theaters do. But like, I never consciously think to do that. Like I watch TV with the lights on. I watch, everything.
I also really just like lights. I like brightness rather than darkness better anyway. So I think that's just my brain. But yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, it made it so much better. And I know that's like the lamest thing to say because everyone probably is like, you don't shut the lights off when you watch a movie? Weird.
I'm with you on this. I don't always either.
But it was really cool. It really had that 90s film vibe. Yeah. Borderline 80s. Obviously, it was 91. Uh-huh. It was, I didn't read up on it. Like I had a general idea like of that they were like buddies that committed crimes. Like I knew that, but it was really fun. And I liked the evolution of the characters. There was a lot of parts of it just inherently like really bothered me, not because of the film, but just because of the way society is built. But, and it was funny. Have you seen Terminator 2?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, here we go.
Guess what?
Guess what?
I have not seen Terminator 2.
Guess what, lady?
I'm watching it. I'll just write it down.
We're going to walk you through the Terminator franchise. We're going to start you off with 1 and then we're going to go to 2.
Oh, God.
It was very reminiscent of I think just in looks, really, because it's a totally different like character arc, totally different like genesis of Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor. And Sarah Connor is like one of my favorite characters of all time. But anyway, like Thelma towards the end like started to kind of vibe that Sarah Connor thing, and I can't wait for you to watch that, and then we can compare and contrast once you do.
Yay.
Yeah. What made you assign this?
It's always been a very like, I don't know, it's always been a really like pertinent film for me for some reason. I've always loved it. I think also that was, I think when I was younger, that was the first movie I watched with 2 female leads in it, because usually you watch film and they're male leads, and they were just so bad. I remember like just wanting to be them, kind of. They're crazy. They're so badass, and obviously, you know, they commit these crimes, but I mean, there's more to it than that because of the situation. Obviously, we're gonna spoiler alert.
We always spoil it.
We always, you know, spoil them when we talk about them, obviously. But I don't know. I love what they stand for throughout the film, and it's one of those things where I think it's a very like gets me in the guts, you know, like what happens with them and the reasons that they're on the run, and obviously I'm sure you picked up, like, I think Susan Sarandon's character, the reason why she doesn't want to go to the police, because, okay, so spoiler alert, they killed a man that was, well, they didn't. Susan Sarandon's character did.
Louise.
She kills this guy that they meet at this club that is trying to rape Thelma, her best friend, which is Geena Davis's character.
Yeah, she gets pretty smacked around. He was trying to rape her. Louise takes the gun out and threatens him. And so Thelma gets away. And I think where it gets especially like, because when I'm watching it in my gut, it's like, oh, it was justified. But if you think about it, they already were kind of getting away once.
Yeah.
She shoots him after like Thelma made it to safety. But she does it because she got crazy triggered because of her own trauma.
Yes. And I think, I mean, I don't know.
So it gets very, you know.
And her own trauma is why she doesn't go to the police too, because she's gone, it doesn't go into what happened to her, but it's implied that like she's gone through this before, and that, is he a detective or a cop? Hold on.
I feel like he's probably a detective, but
a detective. Yeah. He knows her. And he knows that she got screwed over.
Totally.
And I think that's
because the system's so fucked up.
Yeah, the system is fucked. And so that's a reason why Louise runs, because she knows, like, I think if they went to the cops after it happened and explained the situation, I think it would have been self-defense, to be honest with you.
I mean, that's how I looked at it too, because in my gut, I was like, why don't you just go to the cops? But I could see it both ways.
I could see it both ways too, and I think in that time period,
the amount of fear that you already got, the trauma, all, that's it was,
because I mean, throughout the film, Thelma keeps asking Louise, like, what happened in Texas? What happened in Texas? Like, she doesn't even want to. They're on the run, and she doesn't even want to drive. They're trying to get to Mexico, and she doesn't even want to drive through the state of Texas.
Right.
Like, she doesn't want to be near it. And she never says, but it's obviously implied that something along those lines are similar, and it didn't work out in her favor, obviously. Right. So, yeah. I just love how passionate they are. And
well, things like that were just incredibly infuriating. And as a woman just watching it, I think as anyone watching it, that is, you know.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And I should mention that I watched this with, I watched it again, just to like refresh my brain. And I watched it with Shane. And at that part where the guy was raping Thelma, he was enraged. She was like, shoot him. He was yelling at the TV. He was like, just shoot him. I was like, holy shit.
And it was like a really brutal rape scene, and I feel like it was
well done too. Yeah, it was well
done. I thought it was very realistic looking, and it really visceral, and it reminded me of there was another film with Jodie Foster, I think it was called The Accused, and it sort of reminded me of how that it was just like these scenes are shot in like such a visceral way that like it's built to enrage you because it's an enraging thing to happen. It's horrific.
Yeah. And Thelma, she's like, why can't we just go to the police? Like, blah, blah. And Louise is like, they saw you, because she leaves the club with this guy. And they're like, you have all these witnesses that saw you leave happily with him. And it's just such bullshit that is why that's one of the, reasons that they don't end up going to the police too, because it's like, that shouldn't matter.
But absolutely not.
It did. And it, honestly, it still does to this day. It's still pertinent. It's still a pertinent film.
Well, it's like that whole thing. It's like no is no, regardless of who it is. Like there's such thing as like spousal rape. Like
yes,
it doesn't matter who it is, or if you were getting along with them, great. If you're out on a date with them, if you say no, it's no.
Exactly.
You're not asking for it. It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think
my heart is like pumping even thinking about it. And I'm even like nervous talking to you about it because it's like such a sensitive topic, and I'm sure that I'm not doing this conversation any justice other than saying it's a horrific scene. The topic is horrible, and
it's very sensitive.
And I just think that they did a nice job of putting that scene together, because it sucks to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable for sure.
But that's definitely the inciting incident that like changes everything and changes both of them and puts them on the run. And you watch their characters start to go through this arc from feeling like repressed, like that they don't have too much freedom in their everyday lives, to kind of exercising their own brand of freedom through their outlaw behavior.
Yeah. I also just love there's so many things in that film also that make me happy. Like the scenes of them driving in the car together, and just like the laughs that they have. And it just really, it also makes me feel good about, women having women, you know what I mean? Like the bonds that we have with our friends and all of that stuff, and how strong we can be together. And I think that's something that's like positive about that film. And I think that's why too, I also just really enjoy it.
Yeah. Like one thing that did catch my eye is like, no matter how badly Thelma kept fucking up, because there were so many times in this film that I'm like, are you joking me?
Thelma, I know.
It like really gets into criminal behavior, and you're like cheering on like their criminal behavior, which is a whole nother can of worms. But I'm like, Thelma, why would you leave money in the room?
I know.
Someone that flat out tells you that they're a thief.
Because it's a
young Brad Pitt.
It's a young Brad Pitt.
It doesn't even matter if it's a young Brad Pitt. It's just Brad Pitt.
Honestly.
And she lost her head.
Her head was in the clouds. You can't blame her.
Looking at his 8-pack, then their really good sex, and she was like, I'm just gonna leave all our life savings in this room with him alone, even though he just told me he's on parole.
Yes. For robbing. For robbering. That's a new word.
That's a new one. It's fine. But yeah, like things like that would be like infuriating. I'm like, you're not thinking like smartly at all. But no matter how many times she fucked up, like Louise would keep forgiving her and keep being her friend, because they were like best friends first.
Yeah.
It's not like Louise is like, well, I'm leaving you behind because you're a terrible partner in crime. It was just really interesting.
Yeah, I know they stuck together. And I mean, they stuck together to the end.
Yeah. What did you think of the ending?
Oh, it's funny because I kind of forgot about that. And watching it the second time, I was like, oh, wow. I didn't realize. It kind of just makes me think like, wow, so they thought that going to the police would be would go so terribly for them that they had to resort to that. But also I just think it's kind of epic and like rebellious of them too.
So to like walk the audience through, like, just in case, regardless of whether you've seen it, this is what happens. Like, basically, they're on the run. They're being hunted down by the cops. At the end, there is like this climactic, very extravagant police chase with like, I don't even know how many police cars and helicopters. And they finally track them down right at the crest of the Grand Canyon, and they're trapped. And instead of, surrendering to the police, they decide to drive their car
off the edge.
And they say, let's just keep going. So that's them just driving off the Grand Canyon, and they die.
Yeah.
They ended on a freeze frame of the car in midair.
I think it's kind of like an FU to society too. Like, just like, we're going to keep going, even if that means.
My initial reaction, I hated it. Like, I hated that it ended that way. But then I thought about it a little more, and I'm like, okay, well, they went like the non-traditional route. Like, what was I expecting? A happy ending? Like, that's a little silly.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm conditioned to expect a happy ending. But I was researching it a little bit, and I read somewhere that even Ridley Scott didn't like the ending at first.
Yeah, I read that
and
too.
That he like pitched the alternate ending of like having them drive off the Grand Canyon, but at the split like second before the car jumps, having Louise push Thelma out of the car.
What?
Push her out of the car so that only Louise gets killed and Thelma lives.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't read that part.
Yeah, that was an alternate ending option.
Ew, I don't love that.
They were thinking about. And I was thinking about that, and I thought that would have been really heartwarming, but then that's not, I don't know. Then they wouldn't have really been the partners that they were. I don't know, It's fucked up because they plan on dying together, so I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's crappy both ways.
I mean, it's crappy. It's definitely crappy. I mean, I'm thinking of it from like a film standpoint though, and not like a real life standpoint where I'm like, oh, I get the symbolism of that. If that makes sense. Which that's why I wouldn't like if Louise pushed.
Well, yeah, because the whole film is about them finding their freedom.
Yeah.
Right? They start off like completely repressed in their own individual lives, and then they go through this journey and slowly discover their individual freedoms. Mm-hmm. And so they go out, quote unquote, free. But I don't know, I was triggered that way. And I was triggered even more when I read the alternate ending. So I don't know what I was expecting.
I don't think I was triggered by the ending of it. It's like kind of sad, but also like, I don't know how to describe, like, it's a little bit, I mean, maybe this says a lot about my personality, but like I was almost a little victorious. It's like sad, you're like, oh, they're going to die. And then like you realize like it is a little bit victorious because it's like, oh, you can't have me. The police aren't going to take me.
Right.
I'm going to do it myself. I'm in control. You know what I mean? That's how I thought of it. But
then I think about it, like the circumstances, and it just pisses me off.
Well, yeah, it
sucks like, they shouldn't have had to go this far.
Right. It sucks that it had to get this far. It sucks that, right, exactly. And that's the infuriating part. It's like, based off the circumstances of the movie, I think that's why I feel victorious about the ending. But those circumstances shouldn't have even happened. Like,
right.
They shouldn't have had to get to that point. Like, Louise should have felt comfortable enough going to the police right after it happened and knowing that they would have had her back because it was self-defense. But obviously the system is fucked and that's not the case. And that's why they chose what they chose. But yeah, it is infuriating.
Yeah. I thought it was really well shot. I thought like it had that like vibe of those like epic action movies from the 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. Really puts you in the action. Like the car accidents look super real. They don't have like the special effects that we do today. For some reason, to me, it almost makes it a little bit more visceral. And like there's something really decadent and extravagant about the helicopter showing up with the ominous music and having just the shot of the car and then slowly backing off and seeing like one police car and then backing off a little more and then seeing like 20.
Yeah.
It like really like amps up the tension.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
I love that shit.
It
like reminds me of Top Gun. It reminds me of Terminator. It's just like those epic action movies.
Well, I just love the grit of it. Like, it's not a shiny penny. It's like their feet are dirty and like they're on the hood of the car, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I just love that. Like, it's not like nothing about it is polished, and it just feels it's like you said, much more visceral.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, Ridley Scott directed like the Alien films, and he knows how to film badass women.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was a success.
Yay, success.
Successful movie night, even though so many things about it were frustrating, but it was entertaining for sure.
To me, like, that's the tell of a good movie, though, when you're all the things, you know, when you get like frustrated and excited and, you know, all of the things. I love that.
There were moments where I thought it went a little long, but maybe it's because my attention span these days is awful.
That's interesting, because I feel like my attention span is pretty terrible, and I did not feel that way, but it could have been the mood I was in. It could have been the mood I was in. I don't know.
You also were like watching it with someone.
I was with someone. Yeah, I wasn't watching it by myself, so that's true. Yeah.
I get a little bit. I do watch movies alone, but it's a little bit more challenging for me to not have someone to join me in that experience.
Yeah, because you feed off of people's energies too, like how they're, you know, taking it in and how you're taking it in, and and I had seen it, so it was exciting to like watch Shane see it, you know.
Yeah, and I could like put the movie on pause without bothering someone, so I could literally. It's not like I'm sharing an activity with someone, you know?
Yeah. No, I get that.
It takes a little bit more accountability.
Yeah.
Which my patience is wearing thin these days in these quarantines.
Exactly. No, I'm terrible watching stuff by myself. I get up, I like drink food, get up again. Like, I'm all over the place sometimes when I watch stuff by myself. That's a miracle I get through something. Honestly.
Speaking of which, are you okay?
I mean, no, definitely not. I'm really, actually, no, I'm not okay, because this was a low point, actually, I think. Wow. I made it, so I was making a cake for my brother's birthday, and he loves almond tort, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make an almond tort. Well,
pray tell, what is in an almond tort without, it's like English, Pamela. Let's say it again.
What is almond tort?
Pray tell, what's an almond tort? Other than
what is an
other than is the phrase I was looking for.
What are words?
We're into the White Claw this afternoon. It's fine.
It's all good. I have wine. She has White Claw. We're good.
White Claw, if you want to sponsor us, feel free, because we're fans.
We are fans.
But we're not sponsored.
And we're not. Just if you wanted to know.
I'm taking sips of the White Claw throughout the episode, but
what flavor is it?
This one is grapefruit.
Ooh, my favorite.
Ruby grapefruit, to be exact. It's not my favorite. Mm-hmm. I have a controversial favorite, which is black cherry.
That is controversial.
People think it's syrupy, but I like it.
I do think it tastes like cough medicine.
I like it. I dig it. I need it.
I feel that.
Other than almonds, what is in an almond?
Okay, so it is a almond cake with an almond custard in the center, covered in an Italian meringue buttercream with sugared almonds. It does, Pam, unless you don't really bake and you're making a cake that like probably should be made on the Great British Baking Show. Honestly.
Is it really hard to make?
It wasn't.
Do you make all the components by scratch, like the meringue and the custard, all that stuff individually alone? That's a lot of work.
Yes. So it started out great. I made the cake the night before. Those turned out beautiful.
Yeah.
Then I made the custard. That was a little bit more complicated, but not terrible. You have to whip egg yolks and then add warm milk to it as you're whipping it so that the egg yolks don't curdle.
How buff are you now?
Oh my God. Honestly, that is mostly like, that's all the arm workout I'm getting is just whipping shit. Cause I've also been making that like whipped coffee most mornings. And I'm like, yes, this is my
whipped coffee.
Have you ever tried it?
What do you mean?
Love it. Look up whipped.
I mean, I take like a frother to like,
no,
when I have collagen, you know that I have that frother and I do that, but like, that sounds different.
So it is. Hold on. There's an actual name for it besides just whipped coffee. But if you type in whipped coffee on like Dalgona coffee, Dalgona whipped coffee. I'm probably saying this wrong. But if you type in whipped coffee,
if you want to sponsor
Google it,
Alexa likes you.
Yes, I love it. You can make it. It's I literally can tell you the recipe right now. You can do this. It is 2 tablespoons of instant coffee, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of hot water. And then you whip it for like 10 minutes until it's fluffy. And then you put it on top of ice and a little bit of milk.
But that's only 6 tablespoons of drink.
It gets so fluffy though, and then you add the milk and you like mix it in together so it's like an iced coffee.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it.
Try it. I think you'll really like it.
I'm going to sugar, coffee, hot water.
Yes.
Whip.
You need the instant coffee grounds though.
I have instant coffee grounds.
Perfect.
I do.
Then you're ready.
I never use them, so now I'm going to use them.
No, it's perfect.
I'm very excited about it.
Yes. Yeah.
So why aren't you okay? Because you made the cake?
Oh, the cake. Guys, I was such a child. I was such a child about this cake. So I made the custard. That was fine. Then it was chilling. It
looked really pretty.
Then I had to, my dad
poured more drink. Sorry.
So the custard was okay. It was a little difficult, but like doable, totally doable. Then it's chilling. My cakes are done. And I'm like, okay, I have to make this buttercream. I start looking at the recipe and I'm like, this is like legit. Like this is like a professional cake that someone make at a bakery with this buttercream. Basically, it involved me like whipping egg whites while boiling sugar. Yes, into submission. Boiling sugar and water to 250 degrees. So I had to put a thermometer in there.
Yeah.
And then after it's so once it gets to 250 degrees, I have to pour this hot sugar carefully into the mixer while it's on high speed mixing, trying not to A, burn myself because it's hot. B, I can't get it on any parts of the mixer because as soon as it hits anything cold, it'll harden.
Yeah.
It was honestly, I'm traumatized. And then decorating the cake, I literally cried like a child. My mom was like,
it looked really pretty.
It did, but it was a stressful thing. And the custard was coming out the sides and I like started crying like a child. And my mom was like,
oh no,
this is not worth it. And I was like,
cry over buttercream.
I was like, you're right. I need to pull it together. So
wow.
And it turned out fine, but like I was kind of a wreck.
I feel like I've probably had buttercream frosting because it sounds like such a popular frosting, but I literally like can't picture it in my mouth right now.
Stiff and like creamy, and there's a shit ton of butter in it. There's 3 sticks of butter in it.
Buttercream.
Yeah, well done.
but I feel, what's that quote? Like, as long everything that has butter in it tastes good. Like anything, think of anything that tastes good. It's because it has butter in it. That's from Julie and Julia. Yes.
No, it turned out it tastes really good. The only thing I'm upset about, which I know how to fix now, is that the reason why my custard all came out is because I should have piped a ring of buttercream around the outside of the first cake, and then put the custard inside. Pro tip. So that doesn't.
Oh, I see. You need a moat.
Yes, I need a moat.
Yeah.
So amateur move there. I messed up.
You live and you learn.
You live and you learn.
Better on the next one.
I know. Yeah. I was making this buttercream and I was like, this better be fucking good because this took me way too much time. Anyways, enough about me. Are you okay?
No. I was in a rotten mood when we started.
You were in a rotten mood. It's okay.
I'm better now. This is probably the earliest I had. Don't judge me, guys. Whatever. It's quarantine. This is the earliest I've had a drink in a very, very long time, probably since college. Whoa. Or no, false, because you'll have brunch. I'll have brunch, right?
I think
I am lying through my teeth.
I was like, damn, I've definitely drank with you way earlier.
It's just like I'm just used to like. I haven't been to brunch in so long. What is brunch?
What is brunch?
What is brunch? But yeah, so I'm used to having like my cocktail or my wine in the evening. Mm-hmm. But the second we started recording and shit wasn't working out and my rotten mood started kicking in, I was like, I need to go get myself something. Sounds like an incredibly healthy behavior. But you know what? It's quarantine times and you got to do what you got to do.
You have to do what you have to do. Yeah. No judgment.
With the rotten mood. I feel a little bit better now that we're doing this. We always feel better after we record.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, you know, so much shitty stuff going on in the world and trying to stay positive. But, you know, sometimes it's hard. There are good days and there are not so good days.
Today's what?
It's getting better.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, today was a good day. I've been really relying on music a ton to alter my mood.
Me too.
That has been helping me. Like, I literally just go into my room, listen to music, dance around, and like it's like I'm in an alternate universe. I don't know how healthy that is either, but I don't care.
Great. Great outlet. I do that sometimes. I did that the other night.
Yeah.
That and like FaceTimes have been what's been getting me through. So
yeah, for sure. Seeing people's faces is nice.
Yeah. Indeed. Thanks so much for listening. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the things. If for some reason you want to see more of us, you can follow us on Instagram at NoOne'sOkay.
And a special thanks to Jordan Ross Weinhold, Sean Moore, Jason Crow, Claire Palmer, Jackson Palmer, Tiffany Haymoff, Shane Rings, James Liddell, and our podcast is recorded at Soundworks Studios. We can't wait to meet you!